Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring a deeply fascinating paradox that affects some of the absolute brightest people you know, and honestly, maybe even you. We're unpacking the reality of high intelligence and how this incredible biological masterpiece can, quite unexpectedly, become a cage. You know, we've always been told that a curious mind is the ultimate gift, right? The spark that literally sent humanity to the stars. But what actually happens when intelligence crosses a hidden threshold and stops being a useful tool, becoming a relentless burden instead? Let's just dive right in and find out.
Have you ever felt like a high-performance racing engine stuck in a 15-mile-per-hour school zone? It's a perfect analogy. It captures that silent struggle of the modern intellectual so well. It's that phantom hunger you probably wake up with every single day. A restlessness that isn't physical, but deeply and painfully cerebral. While everyone else seems perfectly content just enjoying the scenery as they drive by, you're constantly held back, idling in an environment that feels entirely too small and entirely too slow for the thoughts racing inside your head.
Think about the last time you were at a party or in a crowded room. Most folks are just, enjoying the music or keeping to surface-level conversation. But a cursed curious mind? No way. It refuses to shut off. You're mapping out complex social dynamics, noticing super subtle micro-expressions on the host's face, or actually, maybe even calculating the structural integrity of the ceiling. And underlying it all is this inexplicable existential dread because you're just hyper-aware of time passing. Let's be real, it is simply exhausting to process the world at this kind of resolution.
So, what's actually happening here? Well, the biological root of all this noise starts right in your prefrontal cortex, basically the CEO of your brain. In highly curious, high-functioning individuals, this area creates a hyper-connected global workspace. Information is constantly being cross-referenced. On one hand, this allows for absolutely brilliant, rapid problem-solving. But the flip side? You can't turn it off. Your mind operates like a 24-hour news cycle with absolutely no commercial breaks, turning everyday life into a chaotic stream of breaking news.
And all this builds up into what psychologists call intellectual alienation. It's literally like trying to run the most sophisticated, cutting-edge software on a 40-year-old operating system. It just doesn't compute. When your mind operates on this hyper-connected frequency, ordinary small talk starts to feel like hollow static. You end up playing a part in a social script, smiling and nodding, while internally feeling like a deep-sea diver stuck in a world of shallow puddles.
Oh, and then there's the boredom. Look, for the truly curious mind, boredom isn't just being lazy or having nothing to do. It's this intensely uncomfortable sensation that your neurons are practically beginning to eat themselves because they haven't been fed a new idea in hours. Because your dopamine baseline is much higher than average, you require a constant novelty hit just to feel normal. When that novelty stops, that slow drip feed of existential dread begins to seep right back in.
Section 1. The Mental Labyrinth. Debugging Your Own Life.
Because you're so incredibly good at analytical thinking, you actually start using that immense intelligence as a shield. You catch yourself analyzing your romantic relationships or friendships like they're just data points on a spreadsheet, hunting for the inevitable point of failure. You factualize your feelings so you don't actually have to feel them, trapping yourself in a maze where every turn just leads to another question. And the underlying reason why this happens is a profound evolutionary mismatch. Out on the ancestral savanna, we needed the overanalyzers. We needed the person who couldn't sleep because they were tracking the subtle shifts in the wind to keep the tribe safe from predators. But fast forward to the 2024 cubicle, and we're just drowning in a sea of trivialities. That incredible survival engine is now trapped indoors.
And since there are no literal tigers hiding in the grass anymore, that ancient survival instinct, well, it turns its sights right on you. Unread emails, curated social media feeds, the endless pursuit of status, and honestly, even just blank screens and quiet rooms. Your brain is aggressively searching for a mortal threat, and finding none, it begins to treat your own future, your choices, and your identity as the danger. That tightening you feel in your chest? That's your survival instinct with nowhere to go.
Section 2. History's Brilliant Troubled Minds, Drowning in Their Own Depth.
Now, we actually see this exact evolutionary tension playing out with absolutely devastating stakes throughout history. Take Nikola Tesla, for example. The guy possessed a brilliantly curious mind. He could visualize entire, highly complex electrical inventions in his head with perfect working precision. But that same mind, unable to find an off switch in a world that just couldn't keep up with him, eventually breached the hull of its own reality. Tragically, he died alone in a hotel room communicating with pigeons.
We see a very similar story with the literary genius Virginia Woolf. She perceived the world with this raw, almost unedited intensity.
She actually described seeing the luminous halo of life so vividly. But eventually, that halo, that intense hyper-awareness of every single emotion and detail, it just became too bright to bear. These figures weren't just troubled, they were literally drowning in the very depth that the world celebrated them for.
Now, you likely feel a micro version of this exact historical struggle in your own everyday life. It's that incredibly isolating experience of hitting a physical wall when you're trying to explain a complex, layered thought to a friend, only to see their eyes totally glaze over. In those moments, it hits you. To be understood, you have to dumb yourself down. You have to deliberately shave off the edges of your soul just to fit comfortably into a normal conversation.
Section 3. Breaking the loop. Silencing the inner critic. So, what do? How do we actually break the loop and silence that relentless inner critic before the engine overheats? Well, spoiler alert, the secret isn't to simply think less. Asking a curious mind to think less is like asking a bird to stop flying. It completely goes against your very nature. Instead, it starts with a beautiful contrast, the language of the head versus the language of the heart. For your entire life, you've mastered logic, data, and analysis using your prefrontal cortex. But the things you're actually starving for, love, deep connection, peace, they don't live in the prefrontal cortex. They live in the limbic system. They exist in the raw, totally irrational parts of being human that you've spent years trying to fix. It's really time to stop trying to optimize your emotions. Okay, so here's how you actually take action. Step 1. Go do something you are absolutely terrible at. Seriously, take up a hobby that completely bypasses logic, like painting wildly or dancing poorly, just to give yourself permission to be stupid for a little while. Step 2. Walk into the woods without a map or a goal. No tracking apps, no specific destinations. And step 3. Burn the rigid blueprints and checklists you've made for the perfect life. They're nothing but walls in your own mental labyrinth.
When you start doing this, you'll notice your whole approach to relationships shifts. You stop looking for an intellectual clone and start looking for a compatible heart. You begin to realize that a true, fulfilling connection doesn't actually require a partner or a friend who understands your complex theories on quantum mechanics. You just need someone who understands exactly how you feel when you're sad. Empathy, not intellect, becomes your bridge out of isolation.
To truly deeply silence that relentless inner critic, you have to shift your identity. You need to realize that you are simply the space in which thoughts happen. You are the observer here, not the engine itself. The curse of the curious mind only has power over you as long as you believe that thinking is the only way to exist. But you are so much more than your relentless thoughts. When you step back and just observe the engine running, it completely loses its power to control you.
I want to reassure you right now, directly. You are not broken. You really aren't. You don't need to fix your mind. You just need to find a way bigger world for it to play in. You're a high-performance machine currently stuck in a low-frequency world. The real solution is to stop treating your life like a puzzle that has to be solved, or a game that must be won. You just need to allow yourself to play the game, embracing the messy, beautifully illogical reality of human happiness.
Don't let your curiosity be your cage. Let it be your compass. If this explainer resonated with you today, it's because you're part of a rare few who actually get this heavy, brilliant burden. So hit subscribe to join our community, and please send this explainer right now to that one genius friend you have whose mind never, ever sleeps. They really need to hear this. Let's help build a place where the curious mind finally feels at home.
So as you go about your day to day, amidst all the endless calculations and the analyzing of every tiny little detail, I want to ask you, can you find the silence between your thoughts? Because despite what your brilliant brain is telling you, the most profound discoveries you will ever make aren't found in a book or in a data set. They're found right there in the silence.